Welcome to another episode of How I Discovered My Gift with yours truly, David D. Simons. I'm so honored, delighted, and excited to have today's guest on the show. It came honestly on a whim. I was going through social media. I came across Tricia's story. I said she has got to be on this show. It's remarkable. You guys are gonna hear it. You're gonna hear her story. But let me give you a little background on Tricia. As a financial clarity advisor and founder of Starting Over Wealth Network, Tricia Daniels helps women starting over redefine their money identity to rebuild their financial dreams. While an MBA with over 25 years of experience in public accounting and as a corporate financial controller, Tricia discovered, and you know I love that word, how to combine her professional experience and teachings from her experience as a financial planner, from her father's father, who is a financial planner, with her personal financial struggles. As a single mom for over 15 years, and now with a blended family of 8. Wow, got a whole team there. I love it. Tricia started over twice, overcame debt from 3 major events, and experienced being laid off as an executive. Understanding personally the anxiety, isolation, and fears other women face when starting over feel, Tricia now shares her S.W.O.N method, the S.W.O.N method, through speaking and advisory services to help other women realize their someday is today to rebuild their dreams. Thank you so much, Tricia. Welcome to the show.
Honored to be here. I mean, what a blessing to absolutely just be connected with you. And again, through just the power of social media.
Yes, for sure. Tricia, I was fascinated. I found your story, and then I went back and looked at things and looked in your journey. I was just like, wow, what a remarkable story. So if you don't mind, could you just take listeners through your journey to today, doing the finance? And I can tell already that you have a way with words, right? Because a financial clarity advisor, I've never heard that terminology. It sounds like you have a way with words. So if you could just take us through the journey from where you were to becoming that financial clarity advisor today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, because I love to use words that are not intimidating, because most people think of financial. I mean, how many people usually run out of the room to go to the bathroom and do not come back when that financial person's on stage? I mean, it just always sounds intimidating because, yes, while I am an MBA with over 25 years experience in public accounting and as a corporate financial controller, yes, I've been that single mother who has started over not once, but twice. I've overcome 3 different major life events that got us deep into debt. And then I was an executive. I was laid off with no backup plan and no savings. And with 2 young sons, the oldest of which is autistic. And then just recently, after 15 years of divorce, I got remarried. And the blended family of 6 boys. And just 1 month after our wedding, my husband had a spinal injury and all of a sudden lost his job. And then having to navigate medical debt, and then how quickly life can change. And so gratefully, because of my financial experience and being raised by a financial planner father, I've had those tools in place each and every time to help me step up and get out of the debt and layoff and all the financial burdens. However, the shame of my financial journey, the shame of my story, it held me captive. And I didn't want to tell anybody about it. For over, a couple of decades, until April of 2021, when my mother, she fell, just severely bruising her knee, which, for most of us, they fall, they bruise your knee, you're okay. However, just 3 weeks later, my sister and I found ourselves by my mother's hospital bedside as she was sedated and on oxygen and unable to speak. I mean, my sister and I were floored that we were never going to hear her voice again. Until after a week, a nurse came in and she removed the oxygen from my mom's nose. And slowly my mom's eyes began to open and her voice started struggling to speak. And at one point she turned over to me and she asked, "Promise?" "Yes, Mom, I promise." And in that moment, I didn't really understand what my mom was saying, but I knew exactly what she meant because she allowed shame in her story hold her captive. She always said that someday she was going to write a book about the incredible blended joint custody, childhood that I had. She always said someday that she was going to go speak to other women. She always said someday, someday, someday. And on that Friday evening, she no longer had her someday. Her words and her voice were gone. And then that's when I realized, I don't have someday either. That my someday is today, to go out and share my story, no longer sit in shame, but to share my story of how I was able to get up each and every time financially and just sees it as an opportunity. So now that's what I do. I have stepped out from behind my computer screen, the finance and accounting world, and go out and share, to other women that their someday is today also, to rebuild from what seems like financial ruin into their dreams again.
Wow. That's remarkable. That is so remarkable. I have so many questions and thoughts just from you sharing that. I mean, that is the best summation of a story I have ever had on the show. Like, that is amazing. Everybody needs to just go back and watch and just study. I mean, that's beautiful. I love how you broke that down, Tricia. So, when you, because I read a little bit about your background, and like you said, you grew up, as I experienced the same thing, divorced parents, and that can be tough, and living in two different dynamics, two different households. So you kind of had, it sounds like, from the Rich Dad Poor Dad. I don't know if it's exactly like that. But
well, yeah. The joke is, as I briefly sum up, I had 4 parents since the age of 7. My parents divorced, so I was 3. So 4 parents since the age of 7. So I briefly sum up my very diverse households as this. My stepfather, who was Native American, Cherokee, taught us how to camp out in the woods. My father, the financial planner, taught us that camping out was going to Hilton. My stepmother taught us how to shop at Neiman Marcus, while my mother taught us the thrill of bargain shopping at a flea market. So I grew up in completely 2 different socioeconomic households, where I went to private school with the wealthy and saw how they life was. But then I went to church in an amazing, kind of a lower income area where I get to be around diversity and just see all these different people and experiences. And so I was blessed with being raised in such a different, I kind of feel like I'm 2 different people sometimes because I've just had my foot in different areas. And I didn't see that as a blessing until I discovered how unique it was. And I went through a lot of identity work with a pastor of mine, walking me through identity work, and how amazing that was, that now I understand different people I talk to, where I used to think that was such a hindrance, being in different areas, but now I see it as a blessing, being able to talk to people who live in different worlds.
Wow. Yeah, like it's like you said, it's your identity, it's your story that you can relate to so many other people. So talk to me through this, because I know that your financial planning father sowed a lot of seeds into you. It seems Saturday, you and your sister would go and have a discussion, put some principles on a napkin, break some things down. So this seed of financial wisdom was in you, but and then it took you to this journey. So walk me through this financial. How does this financial piece weave in through your story?
So I always say, there's knowledge and then there's wisdom. And so I was raised, again, every Saturday, since my parents were divorced, every Saturday, my father would take my sister and I to breakfast. And every Saturday, my dad would teach us some type of financial principle, but he put it in such easy terms. So I grew up thinking everybody knew about money. Everybody learned about money. And I'm finding out, no, they didn't. And my father put it in such an easy way. He just pulled out a napkin, draw out a napkin, and just made it so easy. But he taught us all these principles. My father was a financial planner, my grandfather, great uncles. I come from deep, the legacy in the financial planning world. But I just didn't realize that all these things I was being taught, was unique. But also, again, knowledge is not wisdom. I had all these things, but I still went through, the 20s of, hey, let's go get a bunch of credit cards. You want to see how many credit cards we can get? Oh, absolutely. Let's see what our limits are, And so I went through those 20s in college, going into debt and And then actually, when I was 4 months pregnant, my first husband and I lost our house because we didn't communicate about money very well. And I learned about the power of communication, with other people about money. And so through my life, I started realizing all these things my father taught me. I wasn't applying them. I wasn't turning them into wisdom. And so it's been amazing for me. I've had all these tools in place. And then I talk to other people and they're hungry. They are so hungry for these tools. They're like, listen, I did not learn about money. My parents did not talk about money. All I heard was fighting. All I heard about was fighting was money. All I heard was the stress on my dad's face. My mother who had to go work 3 jobs. You hear these stories, and a lot of us carry a lot of, as I talk through like money identity, a lot of us we hear about money. We always want more of it, but man, we don't want to talk about it because we think about, and we have these fears and anxiety because it stems back from our childhood. I've listened to our parents fight about it. Maybe that's the reason our parents got divorced. The stress on mom's face. She was tired all the time because she worked so many jobs trying to support us. He was a single parent. A lot of us just had associate a lot of just hurt with money. And we don't realize it, that we're carrying it around in our 20s, 30s, 40s and on, of why we can't have more money or why we're afraid to manage our money or why, because we haven't really gone into depth of these hurts and we haven't healed these hurts from our childhood on identity. So for me, yeah, a lot of it was being in this financial atmosphere that I was so blessed, but I did not realize that was my blessing until I discovered it later on of, wow, okay, dad gave me an easy way to talk about money. That's not scary. That's not intimidating, and that we could apply it. But first we got to go back and heal some things. I mean, just like I had to do in my own money journey.
I love that. So take us through that discovery when you are realizing your personal stories, your lessons from your father, and all of it combining, and you just having this epiphany. I imagine some of it's gradual, some of it's instant. Like what? Yeah, take us through that experience.
A lot of it is just, a lot of people don't want to talk about it. I didn't think it was anything big deal that after my first divorce, I was able to buy my own house. That's things we just don't talk about. It wasn't actually until March of 2020. We're all stuck at home. I start discovering through Instagram, some women that were talking about things. And I happened to connect with one woman and she's like, you know what? We're going to create this little group. She created a group that has grown exponentially now. But through that, I realized in talking with some other women and being a little bit more vulnerable with my own story, they're like, oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. That makes me not feel so alone. Oh, okay. And through that, one time I got at the same woman, she holds an event every September in California. I got up on stage and actually shared, the fact that I had started over twice. I didn't tell anybody. You don't talk about that. That's something shameful that you've started over twice. But me sharing that story, I had so many women come when I came off the stage go, thank you. Thank you. You just released me from my own shame. You just released me that it was okay that I've started over twice because look at me now. And so just through me slowly sharing my story and in safer spaces in some places, that it released a lot of women from things they were going through because they identified with me and my story. And so really started back in March of 2020 of, wow, my story's powerful. And maybe I went through all these things so that I could help somebody else. I never really saw that before. And like a lot of us through all this, pandemic and being closed up at home and really sitting with ourselves, and started healing some things that we had through sharing it with other people. And that is that the power of our stories of, man, this is why I've gone through all these things. When I always would say, God, why? Why am I going through this again? Now I see why. I see why.
The impact. So what gave you the courage to share in vulnerability? That initial, that sounds like it was at an event, maybe it happened in smaller circles first, but what allowed you to? Did you feel God calling you to do this? Did you like what made you vulnerable?
It really was my mother's passing. It really was my mother's passing, because she had sat there and always would tell us, girls, I'm going to write this book. I mean, because we really did have an incredible, rare, upbringing. I mean, in college, when they would say, hey, who comes from a divorced family? I would forget to raise my hand, because I had 4 parents that truly all worked together. I mean, all 4 parents would hang out, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and this is, not to age myself, but I mean, this is the 70s and 80s, and people didn't do that. Graduation in the 90s, everyone was together, and I just didn't realize, but my mother allowed shame to hold her back, from sharing her story, from writing her book. And about the age of 40, my mother really shut down. She allowed that shame and anxiety to take her from a woman who used to dance around and talk and be full of such joy to leaning more into alcohol and depression, anxiety, and just zoning out in front of a TV. So that's one reason she passed so early. My mother was only 74, but she had the body of a 94-year-old. Because she stopped taking care of herself. So she really allowed shame to take over her body. And so when just a fall turned into her passing, just 3 weeks later, that was for me, my moment of, I can't sit in shame either. I can't allow this. I've got 2 young boys at home that are looking to me, as, they're looking to me for relationships, for leadership, for, and I want to show them through action, not just through words, through action, what's possible. So it was my mother's passing of taking the combination of slowly speaking into little groups and safe spaces and people telling me, wow, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So in April 2021, when she passed, that's when I felt the words S.W.O.N, S.W.O.N, fall into my spirit. And then just over the last year, really taking that and like, wow, that was a part of my journey. That was a part of my journey. And just really sharing the steps that I used to get myself out each and every time. And then just recently with my husband's spinal injury, losing his job, and then all of a sudden finding myself, supporting, a family of 8, and with a blended family.
Wow.
But I had the tools in place of, God has got a plan in this. Like this is a blessing. This is how quick life can change, how quick we need to be prepared for when life can change. Have not 8, but 7 streams of income, because you never know when disaster may come. There's all these things that keep happening, but it's not sitting back and going, why is this happening to me? It's like, this is why it's happening to me. And so I see that now. I see that through, instead of being why, I think say, this is why. And so it was back in April 21, just seeing what happened to my mother. That, sadly, that's what inspired me to start using my voice and getting out there, coming from a very uncomfortable place. I mean, I'm a numbers nerd. We hide behind a computer screen, go sit me in an office, and I'm not going to talk to people all day.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now I'm coming out and I'm speaking, and it's uncomfortable, but wow, the transformation that comes in that uncomfortable zone.
Wow. So why is it important for someone to be uncomfortable and share something, if they're struggling with financially or dealing with financial challenges? What does that do in the process I imagine this is part of a process of recovery, of getting out of debt or getting out of that finance, but why is that important to that process, and what does that do?
Going back to forgetting that comfort zone, my mother got comfortable sitting on a chair, watching TV, just zoning out. She got comfortable. If she would have stepped outside of our comfort zone, if I would have stepped outside my comfort zone, can you imagine just that one step? Just one step outside your comfort zone. What could happen? What could change? What could transform? Because we all always sit back in our comfort zones and man, if I just had more money, if I just, look at their house over there, scrolling through the phone. man, I wish I had their life. But that transformation is not going to come until we get uncomfortable, till we step into something new. We were all meant to be prosperous. We were not meant to be broke. We were not meant to be poor. We were meant to, be prosperous so we can help other people. We can guide other people. We can invest not only in ourselves, but invest in others, businesses, giving. We were meant to be prosperous people. And so, but that only happens when we take that one step outside our comfort zone. I mean, all of 2022, that was my word, was uncomfortable. I made sure I got into rooms full of people. And again, remember, I'm a numbers nerd. I'm more comfortable in my office helping with your financials or taxes. I made sure I put myself in new and different rooms all over the country. Because, rooms full of women gave me pure anxiety. I was raised in private schools where women were really catty. So being in rooms full of women, that was, I put myself in that uncomfortable zone, and wow, I was floored. By the end of 2022, I actually would leave these rooms inspired, full of joy, full of happiness. And it was amazing for me just seeing what that one step by going just to one event, going to one new room, opening up Clubhouse and learning how to speak, and just raising my hand and just saying one word. Wow. It was amazing to me, the transformation by just taking one step outside of my comfort zone into the uncomfortable. What could happen?
Look at that. I love it. So Tricia, take us through this development process, right? Because you're a financial professional in many components, right? From a corporate controller, right, and accountant, and today one of the things in your business is a financial clarity advisor. So I think there's somebody hearing this, right? Your story, well, Tricia, you already know all this stuff. You already know about the budgeting, the taxes, and stuff. And you kind of hinted at it earlier. There's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. So how can a person who has the knowledge, because there's and I know this is the case of a lot of people, they have the knowledge of the financial piece, but not the application. How does that happen? And how does one make sure they stay on the application side or the wisdom side?
Yeah. So I always say I was running from my calling. So again, my father, grandfather, great uncles were all financial planners. I saw financial planning as a sales pitch. I really did. I don't need all these products. What are you talking about? I knew the principles, but I was like, what are you talking about? So I ran over to the corporate world. That's where I felt comfortable. I could sit in an office. I could do your taxes. I could help you create, build, and sell your businesses all day. But you always say, the janitor has the dirtiest closet. That was me. I could help you with your finances all day long. It's easy to distract myself into your corporates, your finances, helping you. But I never looked into myself. That was not applying the knowledge and turning it into wisdom. That is not to when my life started to, again, I started over the first time, the second time, and I was able to pull from my upbringing, my corporate knowledge, and then really start to apply it as a woman to land on my own 2 feet. Because most people, when they're starting over, don't land on their own 2 feet. They struggle. I had all those tools in place, but again, I wouldn't share them. I knew them. I could get back on my own 2 feet, but I wouldn't share them. So that's where really, when that word S.W.O.N dropped in my spirit, and I really started looking back of, okay, how did I get myself out and stand on my own 2 feet through starting over, through debt, through executive layoff, and then right now, with my husband and the medical debt. How did that happen? And that's where I walked through, this process that I always walk back through. So for me, like, it's S-O-W-N, sown. We're being sown back into the earth to thrive again. That's why I refer to it as. So S is really when you're starting, finding that seed. Who are you? Because, we've all gone through traumatic experiences. We're not the same of who we were after we go through that. So you have to really discover who you are again. What is your seed, your identity? And that's why that identity is super important when you are learning how to feel more comfortable about money. Going back into that kind of what they call inner child work. Why do I feel this way about money? Why do I not want to touch it? I want more of it. I want to go shopping. I want to get those red bottom shoes. I want to go get that purse, but you're going to ask me to manage it? No, thank you. So really going back through that healing process, finding who you are with money and really start to heal. And that's that S part, that starting part. The O is the obedience. And that was a big step. I know for me personally, was the obedience. Again, I could help everybody else, but when it came to myself, I was deflecting to them and not working on me and my own obedience. And I know people talk about like budgets and things like that, but I don't. It's kind of a bad word. A lot of people don't like to say that word. Yeah. I love to think of it as a plan for abundance. This is my plan. I'm going to create this plan because this is where I want to go. That's where I've been. This is where I want to go. And you're making this plan for your abundance, to reinvest in you, to be able to give to others. I mean, it's exciting. It makes it, but you've got to be obedient. You've got to be obedient, because if we're not obedient, not to ourselves, how are we going to do it with other people? And then W's for wealth. My mentor, my dear coach and mentor, Patrice Washington, defines wealth. She went back to that 12th century definition of wealth as a state of well-being. It's a state of well-being. So we always think wealth is money, but it's our own state. And really, I break it down into 6 pillars, really of W, wisdom. Are you feeding your brain? Are you reading some financial books that make sense to you? I've got books here all day long. Some make sense to me and some make sense to others. Right. There's a lot of wisdom out there when it comes to money. Looking at your earnings. There's such a diversity of ways we all can earn money. A lot of us just think it's a W-2 job. Man, as COVID taught us, there's so much more out there. Yes. And then, looking at assurance, our confidence. A lot of us don't have the confidence to manage our money, and why? But that's something you really have to look deep into, is what's hindering my confidence, my assurance in myself. L is for love. What do you truly love? A lot of us, especially starting over, that L word, no, thank you, but loving who we are enough that we want to manage our money is super important. T is again for trust. Do you trust yourself with money? Because if you can't trust yourself with a little, how can you be trusted with more?
That's right.
I mean, that's something I repeat to myself all the time. If I can't be trusted with just this little bit, it's like if you give your kid $20, you expect fully to know where that $20 when he comes back. Like, you want to know every cent. But how many of us know where our last $20 went? We got to learn how to trust ourselves. And then I take in the H is for health. I mean, investing in our own health. I mean, I have walked through adrenal fatigue from working myself 70, 80 hours a week as a single mother. I've been detrimental to my health, and then watching my mother's health decline. Being healthy and really investing in ourselves and our health, that's important for our overall wealth and for our money, to be able to manage our money. We've got to be thinking clearly, and that's really where that clarity comes back. Really being able to think clearly and see clearly our money. And then I walk into that last part. N is for network, because who is holding you accountable with your money? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you reading books? Do you have a community of people, 1 or 2 people around you, who say, hey, how's that plan going? Yeah. Have you had a board meeting with yourself this week to see where you're going? Or are you investing? Wow. So I just think it's really just to kind of go through, I know that sounds like a lot, but just 4 simple steps. Finding your seed, just starting, obedience, looking at your overall wealth, your state of well-being. And then N, do you have a tribe of people holding you accountable, and going where you want to go? I think it was one of your podcasts or stories I was listening to of, are you putting yourself in rooms? Are you putting yourself in rooms that people are thinking higher, achieving higher, putting yourself in, you are those 5 people that you're around? Who is your network of people? But that's where, for me, it was just the obedience and clarity of really being able to see things more clearly, understanding who you are, because a lot of us just go through the daily motions and not really see, it's all muddy. And that's where that clarity advisor came through, because being able to take all the stuff that seems cloudy and muddy in our lives and just clearing it to be able to see it simply and have really applicable steps.
Wow, that is so key. I love how you broke that down. S.W.O.N. That's awesome. So starting or seed, obedience, wealth, network. That is beautiful. I'm sure we're going to talk more about how people can get plugged in to learn about how to implement that framework into their lives. But so speaking of this, right? Let's just pretend. Maybe it's not pretend, because maybe it can be reality. We have a listener who's maybe married, or no. Let's put it exactly. It's a single mother that has kids in hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Most people would try to work on, it sounds like, the finance part, but it sounds like your approach is to work on the person and the identity to fix it. So if you had to coach her, obviously, you know, you need more sessions than one session, but if you were to coach her and, some sound advice on her starting steps, what would you say? How would you coach her?
The first, be able to identify the fact that, it's great to get out of debt, but if you don't heal yourself first, you can get right back in. I mean, I know I did it. I mean, how many people, you go through your snowball plan, you get yourself out of debt. Oh man, I got $100 room on my credit card. Ooh, those shoes look good, right? We have to heal ourselves first. And so a lot of times when a woman's starting over or another traumatic event, we're not that same person who we used to be. Things are playing for abundance. It's not the same as it's going to used to be. So our first piece of advice for a woman starting over is to sit back and write down your dreams. What are your dreams? Because now, who are you in your dreams? Because you once were a woman that had all these dreams, and maybe it got lost in the marriage and in your kids and in the job. You lost who you are. So go sit back and write down your dreams. That's why I always call it rebuilding your dreams. Because you take these financial ruins that look like ruins all around you. You are deep in debt. How in the world am I going to get out? One step at a time. One step at a time. First, I'm going to write down my dreams because I'm getting ready to rebuild them. And next, who am I? Who is the person that wants these dreams? And it's just building that confidence I was talking about earlier. Because a lot of us, when something traumatic happens, you lose all your confidence. And again, you lose who you are. Yeah. So just establishing, I can do this. I can do this. Just like I tell people, the fact that I was blessed to be able to buy my own home, the week after my first divorce, be able to put a down payment. I was able to stand on my own 2 feet. I didn't see that as confidence back then. I didn't see as I had some tools. Yeah. But even though I bought that first house, I still had healing to do. I started feeling my need was shoes. New divorced woman, I gotta go get some shoes, and a lot of us do, they go through that, like, who am I? So we start feeding ourselves with material things, and then we're finding ourselves again, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Because you didn't properly heal who am I identify. You started investing in material things instead of investing back in yourself. Wow. And so that would be my first piece of advice. If there's a woman starting over, or you've gone through a traumatic event, write down your dreams. What's that dream that you're going to run and rebuild? And then next, what is that part of you that needs to heal and reinvest in you?
That's gold. That's gold. So I love that framework, and I love the end part as well. Like you talked about network and developing yourself. And so one of the things that we kind of talked through in the show is, and we've kind of talked about it, the discover part, discovering what God put in you to do. The development part is the next part, because we know that God doesn't give us something, a gift, a talent, a knowledge, a revelation, and just expect you to sit on it. He expects you to learn and master and become better. So can you talk to us? A lot of times people don't understand, like, and I've just been listening to you through the conversation and certain things that you've shared. the development that has gone into yourself to become who you are today. And if you could speak to that, I mean, from the money identity with your pastor, from your coaching with Patricia, I know you're a part of other masterminds and other things. So, how important is it for a person to make a commitment to development of themselves, and why does that even matter?
Oh my gosh, that's almost gonna make me cry kind of thinking about it. It was huge for me. The healing part was huge for me of reinvesting in myself. Like, again, for COVID, we were all shut down for about 9 years. I had my was work, 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 work. That's all I did. I deflected. I shut off. I walled myself off. My identity was in my title. My identity was in my professional. My identity was in the degrees on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
That was my identity. And it wasn't until I heard a pastor really talk about operating in your false identity.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what got me. It was super important when I walked through that work with him. And I actually did a lot of, like, they call it inner child work. Really going back to that little girl. How did she feel about money? How did she feel about this? How did she feel? I'd pull all of that stuff off.
Mm.
And so March of 2020, I mean, it's almost been a 3-year process.
Wow.
And just constantly, okay, one step, all about one step. First step, okay, identity work. Next step, inner child work. I just kept getting my mind open. And then in April 2021, my mother's passing, okay, next step, okay, I need to learn, how do I get my message out there? How do I speak it? So I learned the power of, Clubhouse, raising my hand, learning how to introduce myself in 30 seconds, listening and investing, in free podcasts, free Clubhouse, free, all different free resources of, wait a second, I feel it right here, but what is it I'm trying to get out? I was horrible with my words, absolutely horrible with my words, of being able to, what was here to be able to, so I had to practice and practice and practice of what's in here. And then also being able to apply it. Okay, going back into my past, those walls I'd close off that I didn't want to address. I don't want to talk about when I started over for the second time, or those those are the shame things I didn't want to talk about. And I've had to really sit down the last 3 years and write it out. These are the steps I took. This is what helped me. This is what helped me. But it took me investing in the people that I have met, through the power of online, just how we've met.
Yes.
It's like, oh my gosh, they have discovered their skill, their gift. That can help me. Their gift, that can help me. And it's just been very, very powerful of just in the importance of really going back and after you discover your gift, but developing it into something powerful that somebody else can need. And I'm still in that journey. I'm still in that journey of developing the courses, developing the challenges to help people win. Because right now, that's my word for the year, is being debt free in 2023. Really helping people. And I'm taking them on my own journey. We have got a lot of medical debt now from my husband's spinal surgery. They found a tumor the size of a golf ball wrapped around his spinal cord when they went in there. And so, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to take some people with me. Guys, let's go. Like, I really building a community. Am I in the process of, how do you structure a community? How you bringing people with you on the journey of, like, let's all do this together. Let's have this network of people that are going through this anxiety of debt and learning how to not only pay off our debt, stay out of debt, but while reinvesting on ourselves and building, this net worth and prosperity we were meant to have, so we can start investing in other people and teaching them also.
I love that. I love that. Wow. So you kind of hit on the next phase I kind of wanted to go into, which is this distribution part, because you've uncovered some things in the financial realm, especially, to cater to women that are dealing with this, but I know it affects everybody. But you've uncovered some things that are, I would like to say, counterintuitive to what most people would do to get out of debt, right? Or get out of these. So like you talked about it, the healing, going through that process, and you have a message, you have a call that you have in this arena to help people. Now, there's another responsibility of getting this out there. And you kind of said it, like utilizing Clubhouse, So what are the ways that you're um, positioning yourself out there, letting people know what you're doing? How are you positioning? Because I think about the athlete, like a Tom Brady or a Michael Jordan or a Serena Williams, however great they are, if they didn't have put themselves in a position where they develop their gift and then put themselves in a position to be seen, recruited, so they can get into the major leagues and things of that nature. I feel it's the same way in business, and it's the same way with our giftings. It's God gives you this gift here, but He also expects us to. So I'm kind of speaking to the person that's looking up to you, Tricia, that says, "Hey, I would love to get into this world. How do I position myself and become better at marketing the gift that God has given?"
Yeah. So for 2022, when I was traveling around, I really did sit back. I mean, I was really, watching a consumer. How did people get their message out? How did she get her message out? How did he get his message out? And watching, because there's so many different things you hear about, and we're all overwhelmed with between courses, webinars, master classes, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're all just, man, we're bombarded, and we think we have to do all the things. So in 2022, I really sat back and, in the different rooms, events, everything. And okay, wait, they're doing this. They're doing that. They're doing that. Okay, I don't have to do all these things. What is my best way that's uncomfortable, but gets the message out? And it's like, for me, this year was being a teacher. I heard that word of being a teacher, a producer, producing. And so for me, and what's working best for me, and I'm working on this year, is podcasting, YouTube, providing those really quick clips of what's one thing you should do today to create your plan for abundance. What is one thing you can do? And that is really what I'm focusing on, is developing the YouTube teachings.
Nice.
It's the free from podcasting, and then walking women into, having that network and walking through, challenges. I am super excited, to start doing like a bi-monthly challenge, come in for 3 to 4 days. Let's learn about this. And then, come be a part of our mastermind in our community. Let's all be debt free together. I've got the Starting Over Wealth Network is what I founded. I was officially registered trademark as of December of 21. Thank you so much. It's a long process, but I knew once that registered trademark, once it was official, I was like, all right, it's time. And building a community just for women starting over. Because I know I isolated myself for at least 6 months, not talking to anybody after my first divorce. And so I know how important it is to have a community there for just women starting over. And so I am thrilled to be able to, to not only be podcasting, YouTube, providing these challenges for women. Say, hey, listen, this is what there's available out there to you, and just expose them for 3 or 4 days, and then bring them in, to our mastermind and community. And so, because there are so many different vehicles out there, but with your specific gifting and discovering what you're called to do, sit back and study and see where you're called. Because that's what the bad thing is when you start to try to do all the things, again, you're the master of nothing.
That's right.
And there's so many different vehicles we all can do, but see what's best for your industry or for your gifting or something that, again, you've excelled at. Again, I've learned from a woman who could not talk at all to now giving up and giving speeches, like, wow, God, look what you did when I just got a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit more uncomfortable, a little bit more uncomfortable. You've called me to be a teacher. And so now I sit and I can just record videos. So I'm thrilled to be able to, in this 2023 season, launching the YouTube, relaunching my podcast. I've got one more podcast that's going to hopefully be launching in March. It's called Money Over Easy, which is going to be about those conversations I had with my father at breakfast.
Wow.
And learning to those easy conversations, those breakfast conversations that my financial planner father, and hopefully bringing him in a little bit. He doesn't know this, but I'm going to be bringing him in a little bit. But just having those easy conversations. But I think for someone who's just starting out, discovering your gift, sit back because it can be overwhelming, but you're going to start to see that one thing you can start, just one.
Yeah.
Try podcasting, try YouTubing,
It.
see where you're called to be.
I love it. So, speaking of gift, when you think about your most dominant gift, what would you say yours is, Tricia?
Listening. I can listen to someone talk about all their traumatic events they've been through, their trauma, where they feel really muddy. And I'm able to listen and clear out the mud to see exactly where they're hurting.
Wow.
And make them feel really calm about it. I always talk about, if any of your listeners ever heard the Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 9, which is a peacemaker. Yoda. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So you might see Yoda and R2D2 behind me. Huge Star Wars fan. Again, there's a reason I needed boys. But I love being able to sit back, listen, and see that clear problem maybe they have. Maybe their parents fought about money, so they're afraid to talk to their spouse. And I've become just sitting back and I observe for 2021, 2022, just listening to people and then be able to, no. This is what you're called to do. This is what you're supposed to do. And it's been amazing for me just giving one-on-one advice and then coming back to me and like, oh my gosh, that was it. That just kind of reaffirmed. So I feel like, again, my blessing is being able to, and because of my father's teachings, and then the amazing things my stepfather even taught me as a Native American Cherokee, just that peace and that calming, just like water. That's why I always associate it with water, when you're clearing out that mud. So just that clarity. And that's why I always call myself a financial clarity advisor.
That's good. That's good. No, that's a powerful gift, and it's so needed in the world. And it's kind of like, forget, let me know if I'm off here, but it's kind of like in a way you're like a financial therapist in a sense, in a sense. There's that the power of listening, the power of helping somebody with their identity. You're taking them through the process of healing. And then the byproduct is their financial life is better.
And it's true. Like I would never think of myself as a therapist, but it's true because a lot of us don't associate. We just think therapy is for like our heartache and, all this, personal trauma. We don't think about it as money. We really don't associate money traumas. We don't. And I mean, am I my licensed therapist? Absolutely not. I mean, my master's master's of business administration. I've got an MBA, but I've discovered my gift through all the things I've been to. What I used to be like, why am I going through this again? Like, haven't I been through enough? I've actually got a hole in my wall from a heel that was thrown at one point. But I leave it there. I leave it there as my reminder of when I used to get so frustrated of why am I going through this? As I know a lot of your listeners are just like, you know what? Again, seriously. But no, this is why I'm going through it. This is why. So I feel like, yes, a lot of people don't talk about that therapy, that financial therapy we need, because we walk around this poverty mindset of we're always supposed to be broke. We're always supposed to be broke. No, we're not. God talks about money 2,350 times in the Bible.
Wow.
I mean, we were meant to be prosperous and we were meant to have abundance. We were meant to do all these things, but we allow these things to wall us up and to block us. And I just feel like, yes, I will receive that of being a financial therapist because I feel like we should all use the things we've gone through.
That's right.
As therapy for just that one other person in front of you, whether they're sitting in front of you through the microphone, through Instagram, through Facebook, we all have, a story that's for somebody else to hear. Someone else is on the other end waiting to hear our story and how our gifting can transform their life.
That's so good. I love it. So Tricia, can you share with us how people can get connected in working with you? Somebody's going through a season of financial difficulty. Maybe they want to avoid a future season of financial difficulty, or they just need some support in this area. How can people get connected and work with you?
Just come get to know me first over at Instagram at Tricia Daniel MBA and at Starting Over Wealth. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and then also launching my YouTube that will be in February of 2023 at Tricia Daniel and at Starting Over Wealth. I do have a website. It is, of course, TriciaDaniel.com. That's TriciaDaniel.com. And I have a free money personality quiz. I mean, it's just a free, fun little quiz. Take it, just start to get you thinking of who you are with money. And so just come over, get to know me a little bit. And from there, then come join one of our challenges and become part of our network.
I love it. I love it. So we're going to make sure to plug all those links there for people to get connected with you. You may have heard from listening to other episodes. There's a question I always ask at the end of every episode, and that is, what's the difference between one's gift and one's purpose? One's gift and one's purpose.
Purpose is what we were born with. That was our seed. That was what originally we're born with. Our gift has come through the trials and trauma that we've been through in life. And so we've been born with a purpose. It is our gifts and how we use and discover our gifts that actually can transform somebody else's life who we've been assigned to.
Well stated. I love that. That's so good. That's so good. So, Tricia, I promise, the last question, but I really enjoyed this time together.
Yeah, I did too.
Is there anything that I didn't ask you, or anything you feel that you just need to share with people that could be listening to this right now?
If you are going through something so heavy right now, you are waking up with anxiety and just dread of the next day, because maybe your electricity is about to be turned off. You've got overwhelming debt. Maybe you've been injured and you don't know how you're going to pay for your surgery or pay for your car payment or your kids put food on the table. If you are going through something so heavy right now, instead of sitting in that anxiety and depression, take a step back. Take a step back and ask, what am I being shown through this? What am I being shown through this? And I challenge you to get out a piece of paper and just write. Maybe you just hold a pen and just write the things you think potentially, what is this teaching me? What do you want me to see? What do you want me to know through this event? Because that's how you are reinvesting in yourself and taking something that seems so hard and so hopeless, because someday that story that you're writing down right now, when that difficult time is over and you've overcome it, you're going to use what you wrote down to help somebody else.
Wow. That was powerful. Thank you so much, Tricia. This has been an amazing episode. Definitely connect with Tricia Daniel at her site. We'll plug all the connections to her Instagram, to her YouTube channel. Truly appreciate you taking this time to bless the listeners and myself. I was blessed tremendously as well. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Absolutely blessed to be here, and blessed that we were connected to the power of social media. Yes. Always reach out. If you feel something, always reach out to somebody.
Absolutely.